Hey everyone, welcome back to another fun and interactive English lesson. Today we're diving into one of the most important tenses in English, the present simple. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, another grammar lesson? But hold on. This tense is actually everywhere in English. If you've ever talked about your daily routine, told someone what you like, or even stated a fun fact like the Earth orbits the sun, you were using the present simple. So stick with me, and by the end of this lesson, you'll understand when to use the present simple, learn how to form positive, negative, and question sentences correctly, avoid the biggest mistakes English learners make, master the tricky rules for he, she, it, learn about modal verbs and why they are different, and learn commonly used time words with the present simple. So grab a notebook, stay with me, and let's get started. Before we jump into the grammar rules, let's ask the big question. Why do we even need the present simple? What kind of situations require this tense? Well, we use the present simple for things that are generally true, repeated, scheduled, or long-term. Let's break it down with some real-life examples. Some things in life never change. These are universal facts that are true all the time, no matter the day, year, or century. Here are some examples. The Earth orbits the sun. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Spiders have 8 legs. The Earth orbits the sun was true 100 years ago. It's true today and will be true forever. So we use the present simple. Now think about your daily life. What do you do every morning? Every evening? Every weekend? We use the present simple to talk about habits and routines, things we do again and again. Check out these examples. I wake up at 7 a.m. every day. She drinks coffee in the morning. We go to the gym on Mondays. And here's a secret trick. Look out for words like always, usually, sometimes, never, every day, on Mondays. These words are clues that a sentence needs the present simple. Some things don't change quickly, like where you live, your job, or the language you speak. We use the present simple for these long-term situations. For example, she lives in London. I work as a teacher. They speak Spanish at home. So even though someone could move or change jobs, these situations usually last a long time. So we use the present simple. This one is interesting. We actually use the present simple to talk about the future when it's about fixed schedules, like transportation, movie times, or school timetables. For example, the train leaves at 6 p.m. The movie starts at 8 o'clock. School finishes at 3 p.m. Even though these events haven't happened yet, we use the present simple because they follow a fixed schedule. Cool, right? We also use the present simple when giving instructions or directions. This happens a lot in recipes, user manuals, and when guiding someone. For example, you turn left at the traffic lights. First, mix the flour and sugar. To start the computer, press the power button. This is why cookbooks and GPS navigation use the present simple, because instructions are meant to be universal and always true. Some verbs don't describe actions. They describe states. These include how we feel or what we think. These verbs do not usually appear in the continuous ing form. For example, I know the answer. She loves chocolate. He believes in ghosts. So remember, verbs like know, love, like, want, need, believe, think, understand are usually in the present simple because they describe states and not actions. Now let's visualize how the present simple works over time. Imagine a straight line representing time. Past, present, future. For example, I drink coffee every morning. This shows the action is repeated over time. The sentence means I drank coffee yesterday, I drink coffee today, I will drink coffee tomorrow. It's a regular action, so it stays in the present simple. Now that we know when to use the present simple, let's learn how to form sentences correctly. We'll start with the affirmative, positive statements, then move on to negatives and questions. In positive sentences, the verb stays in its base form for most subjects. But for he, she, and it, we must add s or es to the verb. Let's take a look. Using the verb work for all subjects, I work every day. You work at a bank. He, she, it works in a hospital. We work together. They work in an office. So remember, for he, she, and it, you must add s to the verb. I play, she plays. I eat, it eats. If a verb ends in o, s, sh, ch, or x, then add es. Go, goes. Watch, watches. Fix, fixes. If a verb ends in consonant and y, change y to I and add es. Study, studies. Try, tries. For example, we say he studies English, not he study English. Got it? Now, how do we say something in the negative? It's easy. We use do not, don't, or does not, doesn't, and the base verb. Again, using the verb work for all subjects. I don't work on Sundays. You don't work here. He, she, it doesn't work at night. We don't work in summer. They don't work on weekends. Be careful. With he, she, it, we use doesn't, and the verb goes back to the base form. We do not say he doesn't works. We say he doesn't work. Correct? She doesn't like coffee. Incorrect. She doesn't likes coffee. Now, how do we ask questions? We simply put do or does at the beginning of the sentence. Using the verb work for all subjects. Do I work here? Do you work in an office? Does he, she, it work on Mondays? Do we work together? Do they work late? Just like in negatives, with does, the verb stays in its base form. We do not say, does she works? It's just, does she work? Correct? Does she like pizza? Incorrect. Does she likes pizza? Now, here's something interesting. Some verbs do not follow the normal present simple rules. These are called modal verbs. Words like can, must, should, might, may, will, would, could, etc. Unlike normal verbs, modal verbs do not change for he, she, and it. That means no s. No changes. Modal verbs stay the same for all subjects. If we use can as an example, I can swim. You can swim. He, she, it can swim. We can swim. They can swim. With modal verbs, the verb always stays in its base form no matter the subject. We do not say he cans or she musts. Correct? She must go home early. Incorrect. She musts go home early. So the key takeaways for modal verbs in the present simple: no s for he, she, and it. The base verb follows the modal. It's used for ability, like can, I can swim. Necessity, must, you must listen. Advice, should, he should study. And possibility, may, might. It might rain. Now let's look at some words that often appear with the present simple. If you see these words, you'll know it's a present simple sentence. Frequency adverbs. How often something happens. Always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, never. For example, he always wakes up early. Time expressions. Words that indicate habitual actions. Every day, every week, on Mondays, in the morning, we go to school every day. Congratulations! You made it to the end of our lesson on the present simple. Let's quickly review what we've learned. When to use the present simple, facts, habits, routines, schedules, and more. How to form sentences, affirmative, negative, and questions, the special rules for he, she, and it, how modal verbs work differently, and common signal words that help you recognize this tense. But remember, practice makes perfect. Now, it's your turn. Comment below with an example sentence using the present simple. Try making a question or a negative sentence. Tell me one habit or routine you have. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this lesson with anyone learning English. Every bit of practice helps. Today, we're focusing on a super important and useful tense, present continuous, also called the present progressive. This tense is different from the present simple because it talks about actions happening right now and temporary situations. By the end of this lesson, you will understand when to use the present continuous, learn how to form positive, negative, and question sentences, know how it's different from the present simple, avoid common mistakes, and learn about verbs that cannot be used in this tense, stative verbs. So let's get started. Before we talk about grammar, let's understand why we need the present continuous. This tense is used for actions that are happening right now or situations that are temporary. Let's break it down. We use the present continuous for actions that are happening at this exact moment. If you can see or hear it happening now, use this tense. For example, I am teaching an English lesson right now. She is talking on the phone. They are playing football at the park. Imagine you are watching a live video. If you can describe what people are doing at this moment, you use the present continuous. This tense is also used for temporary actions, things that are happening around now but will end soon. For example, I am staying at my friend's house for a few days. She is studying for an exam this week. He is working in London this month. These actions are not permanent. Maybe I usually live at home, but this week I am staying with my friend. This is why we use the present continuous. We can also use the present continuous for the future, when the plan is already decided. For example, I am meeting Sarah tomorrow. We are flying to Spain next week. They are getting married in June. We usually use this tense with time words like tomorrow, next week, or on Monday to show that it's about the future. We can also use the present continuous with always to talk about annoying or repeated actions. For example, he is always losing his keys. She is always interrupting me. You are always complaining. This is different from the present simple. Instead of just saying someone always does something, we use the present continuous to show that it's annoying or too frequent. Now, let's imagine a straight line representing time. The present continuous focuses on actions happening right now or around this time. Unlike the present simple, which talks about habits and permanent facts, the present continuous describes something that is temporary and happening right now. Now let's learn how to build sentences in the present continuous. We'll start with positive, affirmative sentences, then negatives, and finally questions. In positive sentences, we use the structure subject plus the verb to be plus verb ing. The verb to be depends on the subject. For example, I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, they are. So let's look at some examples. I am working now. You are working today. She is working at the moment. We are working this week. They are working late tonight. Every sentence needs am, is, or are, and the ing form of the verb. No exceptions. Let's look at some extra examples. I am reading a book right now. She is cooking dinner at the moment. They are watching a movie this evening. We are learning English this week. The baby is sleeping peacefully. To make a sentence negative, we add not after am, is, or are. Let's look at some examples. I am not working today. You are not working now. He is not working this week. We are not working on the project. They are not working at the moment. You can also use contractions. Is not, isn't. Are not, aren't. For example, he isn't working today. They aren't studying for the test. I am not watching TV right now. She isn't feeling well today. They aren't playing football this week. We aren't staying at this hotel. He isn't talking to anyone at the moment. To ask a question, we switch the order of am, is, are, and the subject. For example, am I working now? Are you working today? Is he working this week? Are we working on the project? Are they working late tonight? In the present continuous, we do not use do or does in questions. Instead, we just move am, is, or are to the front. Let's look at some extra examples. Am I speaking too fast? Is she waiting for the bus? Are they coming to the party? Are we staying in this hotel? Is the dog barking outside? Now, here's something really important. Not all verbs can be used in the present continuous. Some verbs describe states, not actions. These are called stative verbs. Stative verbs describe things that are not physical actions. They describe conditions, mental states, feelings, and senses. These verbs are usually not used in the present continuous because they do not show an action in progress. Categories of the stative verbs. Feelings and emotions like love, hate, like, prefer, want, need. Mental states. Know, believe, understand, think, possession, have, own, belong, possess. Senses. See, hear, taste, smell, feel. Let's look at some examples of stative verbs in the present simple. I know the answer, not I am knowing the answer. She loves chocolate, not she is loving chocolate. This book belongs to me, not this book is belonging to me. Many learners make mistakes with these verbs because they try to use them in the present continuous. But remember, these verbs describe states, not actions. So we usually keep them in the present simple. Let's look at some more examples so you can avoid common mistakes with stative verbs. Correct? I understand the lesson. Incorrect. I am understanding the lesson. Correct? She wants a new phone. Incorrect. She is wanting a new phone. Correct? They own a house. Incorrect. They are owning a house. Correct? This cake tastes delicious. Incorrect. This cake is tasting delicious. Correct? He believes in ghosts. Incorrect. He is believing in ghosts. Now, let's compare the present simple and the present continuous. Sometimes learners confuse them, but don't worry, I'll show you the difference clearly. Present simple describes habits, facts, and permanent situations. Present continuous describes actions happening now or temporary situations. Let's look at some examples. I eat breakfast every day. I am eating breakfast right now. She lives in London. She is staying in London this week. The train leaves at 6 p.m. I am meeting John at 6 p.m. Think of the present simple as describing things that are always true, and the present continuous as describing things that are happening right now or temporarily. Let's look at more examples to really understand the difference. I work in a hospital. This is my permanent job. I am working in a hospital this month. A temporary situation. He He plays football every weekend. It's a habit, a routine. He is playing football right now. It's happening now. She studies English on Mondays. It's a regular schedule. She is studying English today. A temporary action. We go to school by bus. A general fact. We are going to school by bus this week. A temporary change. Now, let's talk about modal verbs. You remember from our present simple lesson that modal verbs like can, must, should, might, may, would, shall, could do not change for he, she, or it. Well, in the present continuous, modal verbs still follow this rule. To use modal verbs in the present continuous, we follow this structure. Modal verb plus the verb to be plus the verb ing. Let's look at some examples. He must be sleeping right now. She might be studying for her exam. They could be working late today. Notice that with modal verbs, we always use be before the ing form. We do not say he must sleeping. We must say he must be sleeping. Let's look at some more examples to make sure you really understand how to use modal verbs in the present continuous. She must be feeling tired after the long trip. They might be watching TV right now. You should be paying attention in class. He could be waiting for us at the station. She may be working late tonight. We must be making too much noise. The neighbors are complaining. They should be practicing for the competition. Great job. Now you understand how modal verbs work in the present continuous. Now, how do you know when to use the present continuous? Well, if you see these words in a sentence, it's a strong clue that you need this tense right now. I am learning English right now. At the moment, she is working at the moment. Currently, we are currently studying for our test. This month, he is staying with his friend this week. Today, they are playing football today. If you see words like right now, at the moment, currently, or this week, you know that the action is temporary and happening now. So you need the present continuous. Let's look at more examples so you can easily recognize when to use the present continuous. The baby is sleeping right now. We are watching a movie at the moment. He is currently working on an important project. I am staying at my grandmother's house this week. She is wearing a new dress today. They are traveling around Europe this month. Whenever you see these signal words, remember they usually require the present continuous. All right, let's review everything we learned today. The present continuous is used for actions happening right now, temporary situations, planned future arrangements, and annoying repeated actions with always. That's it for today's lesson on the present continuous. Now, I have a challenge for you. Write 3 sentences using this tense in the comments below. I'll check them and give you feedback. We're moving forward, literally, because we're talking about the future tense. The future is full of possibilities. And in English, we have different ways to talk about what will happen, what we plan to do, and what might happen. By the end of this lesson, you will understand the different ways to talk about the future in English. Learn when to use will, going to, and the present continuous for future meaning. Master how to form affirmative, negative, and question sentences. Avoid common mistakes that learners make with the future tense. And learn key signal words that indicate the future. Let's get started. In English, there is no single future tense like we have with the present and past. Instead, we use different structures to express the future, depending on what we mean. Today, we'll focus on 3 key structures. Will, for decisions, predictions, promises, and offers. Going to, for planned actions and predictions based on evidence. And present continuous, for fixed arrangements. Let's go through each one. We use will when you just decided something at the moment of speaking. You predict something will happen and you make a promise or an offer. For example, I'm thirsty. I will get some water. She will be a great doctor someday. I will call you later. Don't worry, I will help you. Notice how will is used when we decide something right now. We didn't plan it before. It's also useful for predictions about the future, even if we are not sure they will happen. Let's look at some extra examples. It will be sunny tomorrow. I will pay you back soon, I promise. Don't worry, I will explain it again. She will probably arrive late. You will love this movie. We use going to when you already decided to do something in the future or you make a prediction based on evidence. Let's look at some examples. I am going to start a new job next week. Look at those dark clouds. It is going to rain. If you have already made a plan, you should use going to instead of will. Also, when you see something happening that gives you a clue about the future, use going to. Let's look at some extra examples. She is going to visit her grandmother this weekend. They are going to buy a new car soon. He is going to move to Spain next year. Look at that fire. The house is going to burn down. Be careful. You are going to fall. We use the present continuous when you have a fixed arrangement for the future or you talk about events with a set time. For example, I am meeting Sarah tomorrow. We are flying to Spain next week. We normally use the present continuous with a specific time to show it's a planned event. If something is not arranged yet, we use going to or will instead. Let's look at some extra examples. They are having a meeting on Monday. She is leaving for Paris in the morning. We are staying at a hotel this weekend. My parents are visiting next month. He is coming to the party tonight. The future is always ahead of us. But in English, we need to choose the right way to talk about it. We use will when making a quick decision or a general prediction. We use going to when the decision was already made or if we see evidence. We use the present continuous when we have a scheduled event. Now, let's learn how to build sentences in the future tense. We'll start with affirmative, positive sentences, then move on to negatives and questions. To form a positive sentence, we use will or going to depending on the meaning. Using will for all of our subjects, I will work tomorrow. You will work next week. He, she, it will work later. We will work together. They will work hard. Using going to for all subjects, I am going to work tomorrow. You are going to work next week. He, she, it is going to work later. We are going to work together. They are going to work hard. Remember, with going to, we always need am, is, or are before it. Let's look at some extra examples. I will travel to Japan next year. He is going to start a new job soon. They will buy a new car. We are going to watch a movie tonight. She will study medicine in the future. To make a negative sentence, we use will not, won't, or not going to. So using will not or won't for all of our subjects. I will not work tomorrow. You will not work next week. He, she, it will not work later. We will not work together. They will not work hard. Using not going to for all subjects. I am not going to work tomorrow. You are not going to work next week. He, she, it is not going to work later. We are not going to work together. They are not going to work hard. You can use contractions. Will not, won't. Is not, isn't. Are not, aren't. Let's look at some extra examples. She won't attend the meeting. We aren't going to travel this summer. He isn't going to play football next week. They won't study for the test. I am not going to buy a new phone. Now let's look at how to form questions in the future tense. Just like in other tenses, we move the auxiliary verb, will or be, before the subject to make a question. So the structure would be will plus subject plus base verb plus the rest of the sentence. So, will I work tomorrow? Will you work next week? Will he, she, it work later? Will we work together? Will they work hard? When using will in a question, we do not change the main verb. It always stays in its base form. It's correct to say, will she go to the party? It's incorrect to say, will she goes to the party? Questions with going to. The structure is am, is, or are plus subject plus going to plus base verb. Am I going to work tomorrow? Are you going to work next week? Is he, she, it going to work later? Are we going to work together? Are they going to work hard? Notice that with going to, we use am, is, or are at the beginning. You do not use do or does in these questions. It's correct to ask, is she going to travel next summer? It's incorrect to ask, does she going to travel next summer? Now let's talk about modal verbs. Just like in the present simple, modal verbs do not change for he, she, it, and they follow the same structure in the future tense. So the structure is the modal verb plus the base verb. Let's look at some examples. She might travel next summer. He should arrive by 5 p.m. They must finish their project tomorrow. With modal verbs, we do not use will or going to. We simply use the modal verb and the base verb to talk about possibility, obligation, or advice in the future. It's correct to say, he might be late tomorrow. It's incorrect to say, he might be late tomorrow. Let's look at some extra examples. You must submit your application by next week. They should start packing soon. She might move to Canada next year. He must leave early tomorrow. We should book our tickets soon. Many English learners make common mistakes when using the future tense. Let's look at some of them and how to fix them. Mistake number 1, using will for planned actions instead of going to. It's incorrect to say, I will visit my grandmother next weekend. It's correct. I am going to visit my grandmother next weekend. If you have already decided on a plan, use going to instead of will. Will is for decisions made at the moment of speaking. Mistake number 2, adding will with going to. Going to already shows the future, so you don't need to add will before it. Mistake number 3, using the wrong word order in questions. Remember, in questions, the auxiliary verb will, is, are comes before the subject. Let's look at some extra examples. They are going to visit New York next month. They will going to visit New York next month. She might call you later. She might call you later. Are they going to travel next summer? Is going to they travel next summer? Now, let's look at some common words that tell us we need to use a future form. The time expressions for general future are tomorrow, next week, month, year, in an hour, in 5 days, soon, later. Let's look at some examples. She will call you tomorrow. We are going to travel next summer. They will arrive in an hour. I'm going to buy a car next year. Number 2, the expressions for schedule events, using the present continuous for future meaning. On Monday, on the weekend, at 3 p.m., at night, this evening, this afternoon. Let's look at some examples. I am meeting my friend at 6 p.m. They are flying to Italy next Friday. We are having a meeting this afternoon. She is coming to the party on Saturday. These signal words are great clues to help you choose the correct future tense. All right, let's quickly review everything we learned today. Ways to talk about the future using will for spontaneous decisions, predictions, promises, and offers. Going to for planned actions and predictions based on evidence, present continuous for fixed arrangements. Great, you made it to the end of the lesson. Great job. Now you officially know how to talk about the future in English like a pro. But don't stop here. Practice makes perfect. And hey, if this lesson helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Learning English is more fun when we do it together. Today, we're stepping back in time because we're talking about the simple past tense. This tense is super important because it helps us talk about completed actions and events that happened in the past. So, if you've ever wanted to confidently tell a story or talk about what happened yesterday, this lesson is for you. By the end of this lesson, you will understand when to use the simple past, learn how to form affirmative, negative, and question sentences, master regular and irregular verbs in the past, avoid common mistakes learners make with the simple past, learn key signal words that indicate the past. Sound good? Let's get started. We use the simple past to describe actions that started and finished at a specific time in the past. If something is completely done, we use the simple past. Use the simple past when an action started and ended in the past. For example, I watched a movie last night. She visited London in 2021. They played football yesterday. Notice that all these actions are finished. They happened at a specific time in the past. When we talk about multiple events in the past, we use the simple past for each step. For example, I woke up, brushed my teeth, and had breakfast. She finished her homework, packed her bag, and left for school. If you are telling a story or describing what happened in order, use the simple past for each step. The simple past can also describe habits in the past that don't happen anymore. For example, when I was a child, I played outside every day. We always visited our grandparents on Sundays. If you want to emphasize that something was a regular habit in the past but is no longer true, you can also use used to instead of the simple past. I used to play football every weekend. She used to drink coffee, but now she drinks tea. Now, let's look at where the simple past fits on a timeline. Unlike the present perfect, which connects the past to the present, the simple past talks about actions that are completely finished and do not continue to now. To form a positive sentence in the simple past, for regular verbs, we add ed to the base verb. For irregular verbs, the verb changes completely. So, for regular verbs, I worked yesterday. You worked last night. He, she, it worked last week. We worked in the morning. They worked together. For the irregular verbs, I went to the store. You ate lunch at 12 p.m. He, she, it saw a movie. We did our homework. They bought a new car. Most verbs follow the simple ed rule, but many common verbs are irregular. They don't follow a pattern. You just have to memorize them. To make a sentence negative, we use did not, didn't, and the base verb. So using the verb work for all subjects, let's look at some examples. I did not work yesterday. You did not work last night. He, she, it did not work last week. We did not work in the morning. They did not work together. Be careful. After did not, the main verb stays in its base form. We do not add ed or change it to the past tense. She didn't go to school. She didn't went to school. Now let's look at how to form questions in the simple past. Just like in other tenses, we use an auxiliary verb. In this case, we use did at the beginning of the question. So the structure is did plus subject plus base verb plus the rest of the sentence. Let's look at some examples. Did I work yesterday? Did you work last night? Did he, she, it work last week? Did we work in the morning? Did they work together? Notice that the main verb always stays in its base form. Even though we are talking about the past, did already shows the past. So we do not change the verb. Did she go to school? Did she went to school? Just like in the present simple, modal verbs do not change for he, she, it. However, in the past, some modal verbs change their form. The structure is the subject plus modal verb in the past form plus base verb. Let's look at some examples. She could swim when she was a child. He had to finish his homework last night. They should have studied more for the test. Some modal verbs like can, could and must, had to change in the past. Others like should, might and could stay the same but are often used with have plus past participle to show past meaning. Many English learners make common mistakes when using the simple past. Let's look at some of them and how to fix them. Mistake number 1, using was or were instead of did in questions. Was you go to the store? Did you go to the store? Remember, for questions with action verbs, we use did, not was or were. Mistake number 2, using the past form of the verb after did in negatives and questions. Did she went to school? Did she go to school? She didn't went to school. She didn't go to school. The verb after did must stay in the base form. Mistake number 3, forgetting irregular verbs. Yesterday, I goed to the store. Yesterday, I went to the store. Some verbs do not follow the ED rule, so you must memorize them. Words like go, went, and see, saw are common mistakes. Now let's look at some common words that tell us we need to use the simple past. These words tell us that an action happened at a specific time in the past. Yesterday, last night, week, month, or year, 2 days ago, 5 years ago, in 2010, in the 18th century. Let's look at some examples. She visited her grandmother last weekend. I met him 2 days ago. They moved to New York in 2015. When telling a story or describing events in order, we use these words. Then, after that, first, next, finally. Let's look at some examples. First, I woke up. Then I ate breakfast. Finally, I left for work. She finished her homework. After that, she went to bed. Using these words makes your storytelling clearer. All right, let's quickly review everything we learned today. When to use the simple past for completed actions in the past, a sequence of past events and past habits with or without used to. And that's a wrap. Now you've got the simple past under control. No more guessing when to use it or how to form it. But don't just sit there. Put it into practice. Here's your challenge. Write 3 sentences using the simple past in the comments. 1 with a regular verb, 1 with an irregular verb, and 1 in question form. What's something fun you did last weekend? Tell me in the past tense. Which irregular verb do you always forget? Let me know. And of course, if this lesson helped you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. The more you practice, the better you get. That's all for today. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.